Well, the first thing I want to talk about is, do you need a fancy camera, or do you even need a camera in the sense of a mirrorless camera or a fancy iPhone to begin creating the content? So let's begin. So let's assume the type of content you're creating does vary from you going outside in the real world, taking some shots, as well as coming back and using your indoor environment to make a roll, which is basically you talking to the camera. That's what's called an A roll in technical terms. So if you want to create such a content, then I would recommend you can even start with an iPhone, given that the environments that you're shooting in is well lit. What I mean by well lit is it shouldn't be dark enough for your camera to struggle, or for your iPhone, or when I say iPhone, I mean any smartphone that's released in, let's say, 2023 and forward. It could be a Samsung or Android phone, as long as it does have a decent camera, and that's what I'm talking about, right? Because to be honest, when you factor in the compression that these social media platforms put on place, it wouldn't be surprising for someone not even to notice that you've shot with an iPhone or a Samsung or using your Sony's like expensive cameras, right? So it's about getting started, getting the ball rolling when it comes to social media. And there's a popular saying that gear doesn't matter, which I personally don't agree on. It matters a lot, because if you have an iPhone, right, you have the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max, whatever, and it's not convincing enough, or it's not sort of pushing you to be creative, then it doesn't matter. But if you have a story to tell, if you have a lot of information which doesn't actually need your camera, it just needs you and your voice, then in that case I would say iPhone can suffice. But wouldn't be comfortable saying gear doesn't matter, because it might have been true maybe 5 years back, but right now, given the amount of content that is available on social media, if you're not reaching a certain standard, it's very hard for your sort of group or your community to grow. Because if you are providing a content which looks decent, doesn't sound that good, and there's 10 more people providing the same content which does have a better audio, does have a better visual, they did focus more on the lighting of the scenes as well as composition, then I'm not saying you wouldn't be successful, but the chances of you being successful quickly can vary. So just find something which, when it comes to gear, find something which you can quickly learn and master that gear, rather than trying to get the best gear out there and you don't know what you're doing and you're using the auto mode for most of it. So learn the basics of cinematography, videography, or photos first, and then decide which camera suits your need, and get a basic camera to begin with, which does provide you all those features. It could be an iPhone, and there's a lot of different applications which you can use right now, like the Blackmagic camera app, which is free, and it allows you to learn those basic skills of manually exposing your shots. So saying that, it's something which you can do as well. And that brings me to the end of the conversation on this video. Like, what should you start with depends on your niche or the type of content you want to create. You could create a lot of content just using a ring light as well as an iPhone sitting in the middle of it. But depends on where you want to take your social media or content creation journey. And then start with something which is popular enough for you to find a lot of online information on, because that way you can learn a lot quicker than trying to learn on a system which is not that readily available. As well as there's another benefit of using a camera or using a system which is very popular, is that you can find a lot of used gear for that system, which would mean that you technically don't have to sort of spend a lot of money to begin with. And if you ask me which camera would I recommend if you're just starting out, you don't know anything about camera or gear, I would start with something in the sense of Sony's ZV line, especially if you don't want to get into photos. If you want to get into photos, start with something like 6700. Otherwise, just depending on how much funds or how much budget do you have, start with the ZV-E10 Mark II or ZV-E1, which is a full frame sensor. And if you are restricted on the budget, ZV-E10 Mark I, which is, I think, was released in 2020, but still holds a lot of capability when it comes to actually shooting decent amount of I think details, as well as there's a lot of lenses available for the E-mount, which means again you can find them used as well as new with a lot of third-party manufacturers coming into picture. You would be able to find within your budget, you'll be able to find a lot of things which suits your need, and that's a good system to learn as well. Like if you learn the Sony color science as well as the way to work around it, it would be a good transition when you actually want to put in some money behind your passion or project. If you don't want to do any of that and you just want to use some sort of auto mode, that's fine, because even in auto mode, a Sony camera, mirrorless camera, would give you way better quality, especially in low light scenario, than your iPhone can ever do. And that's just to do with the size of the sensor as well as the tech around it. iPhone are improving every year, but saying that an iPhone today, especially the latest model, would cost you way more than what a decent set of lens and a ZV-E10 would. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think and what sort of niche you're planning to start, or if you just started and you're still in your initial phase of things, then also let me know.